love that title. Who's the clever person that came up with that? This is all about online marketing, websites, social networking, distribution, digital distribution, you name it. I'm going to introduce our panel from right to left. On my right, we have Peter Wells, who is co-founder of TuneCore. We have Kate Bradley, who you may have seen earlier today. It's Outlandos. Outlandos. Is that how you say it?
Police.
Outlandos.
First record. Outlandos.
Oh, yes. I'm Lori Donovan. I'm with the Fourth Leaf Company, and to my left is Trish Lasky from BanQ. I almost said Bancorp. BanQ.
It's confusing.
All right. Thank you.
The other panelists.
You may have noticed on your table there's some funny little stickers on every table. They are designated so that you would please pass them around, and little letters at the top mean website, Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter, the big four.
We'll do it too.
Awesome.
What we want you to do is put a sticker on for every medium of the internet that you're currently using. So you can guide by the first letters on the top. If you have a website, put the website sticker on. Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter. First one.
One for each account?
What's that? On your body. We need to
What
see
if we have
them.
2 Twitter accounts? Like that on.
Go for it. You could just cover your whole chest in them.
Okay, so
All right.
green is website.
Green is
Put them on
website.
your lanyard.
Orange is Facebook. Pink is MySpace.
I know I have them
Yellow
all.
is
I'm like,
Twitter.
I can just put them all on.
Yeah.
I'm like, which one's which?
Right.
Hey, Lori, you know what's great about this?
What's that?
No matter what color
that?
I'm wearing, I don't clash.
Oh my god, I love that shirt so much.
If you have more than me, I will personally give you a free consultation.
Where they will consult you.
All right. I see a lot of color. This is good. All right.
We're
So
in for a
please-
friendly, talkative panel this time. Nothing formal.
We found that out at lunch, and I was very excited about it.
Yeah, we had a pre-panel discussion between the four of us to see exactly how we're all going to meld this together, and what we determined was it worked so well between the four of us that we were going to do that right here and right now. We're not going to make this formal where we're going to lecture at you and hand raise. Well, we're not going to hand raise, but we want you to feel comfortable to just ask questions and to talk about what you're doing and ask us questions about what we do. So to get started, I want to talk about websites, and I think the first person to talk then would be Trish, because her company specializes in that. So
Yes, we do.
why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? And
Sure, I'd love to. Basically, my company is, well, the overarching company is called iDesign, and it was started as a web and graphic design company in Nashville.
Microphone.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me at all now? Okay. So basically what we do, what we've done in the past is, websites for any kind of industry, but we've recently developed an online platform specifically for musicians, which basically consists of your website that has a fully integrated back-end system that allows you to control all the content throughout your site. And that's paired with a lovely custom design, so you can make it really eye-catching and cool. So I think what we kind of went over at lunch was, and I did a couple presentations about this kind of stuff, about exactly what we're talking about, and the main message I want to get across is that your website should be kind of your headquarters, kind of your home base for all the other outlets you have on the internet. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, we could talk about it all day. We almost did, and then we had to leave. But I think if you have a really solid web presence with your site itself, I think that putting the time and effort into making that really awesome is so worthwhile, because then in our line of work, we really stress like driving traffic to your site, and that's where you can monetize the relationship with the fan and get them really engaged. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear that the rest of my co-panelists agreed with me on that, because I was like, maybe I'm just like obsessed with our company and I just think everyone should have an awesome website. But I think it's really important because, another thing we brought up was people at record labels, depending on what your goal is, it's great to have a MySpace, but if you have a website is just so much more professional.
MySpace is also dead.
And it's on its way out. It's hanging on there, but I went to a panel yesterday about how our band's getting signed, and they were saying, well, just make sure you have a website or a MySpace link. They kept saying MySpace link, and then they said website too. But in my head, I was thinking, I say website. In Nashville, people that I talk to that work in the industry, they won't even go out to a showcase unless they check out your MySpace or your website. So if your goal is getting a label deal, then you might want to pay attention to that. But making it as easy as possible for whoever your audience is, whether that's an industry professional or a fan, you want to make it easy. I mean, fans get frustrated with MySpace loading. I mean, not to downplay MySpace, it's important, but I think if you focus on your website, the rest of it will kind of come around.
This morning we talked about this a little bit. So the rule of thumb is everyone's a lazy idiot, including me, right? So if you assume that that's the case, then you'll be well off. You need to be where I am. I'm not coming to where you are. And you need to make it as easy as possible for me to access your content, sign up for your newsletter. I mean, when I go to an artist's website and I see I have to dig in through like 5 menu pages to buy the record, I'm like, are we in business or, what the deal is? So everything should be right. Your signature and your email, everywhere that you live and online needs to be in that signature.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
We all have, as you can see by looking at each other's chests and arms, we have a plethora of social networking opportunities and internet sites available to us. So do all of your consumers and fans. So if you imagine that they all have all of these places to go and you have a MySpace, it's not going to be helpful to you. If you have a website that can encompass all of those things, they come there and it's one-stop shopping. If they're a MySpace person, they see the little MySpace logo, golden, they can go to MySpace and so on. So the website is really your portal to everything else.
Yeah, and especially if they see all, I mean, it's great to have those icons on your website. You definitely want that. But again, I'll just stress, like, driving your traffic to the site, not away, but to, because then you can get them to buy things. I mean, so.
Plus, you can have bragging rights about numbers and stuff like that, and that's what you want. I mean,
tracking.
Just for example, like, I was on Facebook for probably 2 months just learning it. I was late to Facebook, and I had 190 friends. And then the whole thing came out about if I got my vanity URL, but I had to have 1,000 fans. So I asked my friends on Facebook to help me, and in 3 weeks I had 1,000 fans. And there's only 5% of Facebook fan pages that have 1,000 or more fans. So while it wasn't actually, to be seen actually driving money to my company, I've been using it to get other companies invested in my company because that's really big bragging rights. It's like, something I can use. That shows scale, right? And you guys can do the same thing. Like how many people are on your newsletter, how many people are your Twitter friends, like all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So I think that kind of, just to wrap it up, like the things that you should include in your site, like just overall things that seem really obvious, but don't always get executed in the most efficient way. Design, I think having something really professional looking is just the best you can do. I mean, you want to have your music is your brand, and you want that your site to reflect what your music is. If you have a crappy site, is your music crappy? I don't know. Maybe it is. So, obviously people have different resources and there's budget issues, but there's all kinds of resources to fit each budget and all that stuff. So, obviously include some kind of e-commerce, include all your content. I mean, it's like your online electronic press kit. Think of it that way.
So one quick thing, if you don't mind, one respectful disagreement would be worry about the look less than the content. And my company is a really good example. My website looks like shit. Frankly, it kills me. I'm embarrassed every day about it, but I'm doing pretty well.
But that's a good point. That's a really good point.
It's because I'm using all these things to get the job done. I mean, I'm writing compelling content. I'm putting out a good product, which is the main thing. So
exactly. If you have a great site that's super flashy and awesome, it doesn't matter and even if your music's great, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're not providing people the kind of content that they need to be engaged. And community is huge. I want to stress that too. Like having that site be a portal for people to get involved. An email is like money, basically, because you can hit them with updates, and we'll get into all that, I'm sure. But
Well, if there's one theme I see that's already come out, it's going to keep on coming, it's hard work. There isn't an aspect of everything that all 4 of us do here that doesn't require hard work on the part of the artist. The way the internet's been moving lately, the decentralization of this industry, so that you can have publicists here and you can reach them, and you can have distribution here and you can have CD production there. These are ways for you to comparative shop and there are ways for you to have access that you couldn't have before. With access comes opportunity, and that opportunity is only going to mean something if you really work at it. If Twitter is the way you want to go, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it, you need to be Twittering smartly and quite a bit. And I think this goes for everything we were just saying. You can, of course, if you've got lots of money is just work in condensed form. You can give the money to somebody else, they'll do the work for you.
That's a good point.
But it still needs to be done, and that's going to be the theme, I think, of this talk at some point.
The one quick thing which is really great is you can use these social networking, all your media, to engage your superfans. I mean, you guys all have superfans who have offered to help you in the past for some reason or other. Maybe they let you sleep on a couch, or they bought your dinner, or they hung up a flyer, or whatever the hell it is. Those are the people who you can delegate tasks for, because after all, I mean, I'm only one woman, and I have 3 companies, and they all launched in the same 2 weeks, 3 months ago, but I have 21 people who work for me for free. And so if I can do it, you guys can too.
For those who are just arriving or who came in late, if you notice people are wearing some colored stickers on their shirts, we're using those to gauge what you're currently using for social media, for websites, and so on. So if you ask your neighbors around you, the green sticker is for website, the orange is for Facebook, the pink is for MySpace, and the yellow is for Twitter. So if you take a moment to put them on, this is just so we can get an idea of what you're doing. And I'm going to ask you that right now, actually. How many of you are working on social network sites, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or MySpace right now, and spend time at least once a day doing that? Okay. How many of you spend more than 2 hours a day doing that? Okay. How many of you spend more than 4 hours a day doing that? Okay, it's borderline. If you are spending that much time on Facebook or MySpace or Twitter or all of the above, you're doing a disservice to your craft. That's not your job. Your job is to give little snippets of information, share your schedule, find a way to gain new fans, but you're not doing the business of music if you're online cultivating social networks. As Kate said, you either need to find some super fans. Once you get to a certain point, you need to pass it on to a professional who does it. There's also a wonderful company for starter folks who just really don't have the money to put into that called Artist Data. And Artist Data takes what's a one-stop place. You go in, you put your information in, and it disseminates it to all of those sites for you. So if you're not aware of it, artistdata.com. Yep.
There's another one. There's a competitor too. And
Is
I
there?
forgot the name of it.
It's a free charge. There's no charge for it. You go in, you set up an account, and you put one tweet up, and that tweet then goes to Facebook, to MySpace. It updates your updates everywhere. So it's a really valuable resource. You can also put your calendar in there, and it will update your calendar on all your spaces, including your website, if you import their widget into your website. So it's a good resource.
Mind if I ask a quick question of the crowd?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to get a gauge of sort of who's here. Who here is a musician? A few musicians. Producers? Some producers. Managers? We got a triple threat over here at the very least. Who am I missing?
Songwriters? Yeah.
Yeah, songwriters. Okay, thanks. Lawyers? I think
Really?
you've won the grand
Wow.
prize. I think you had your hand up for everything.
So one question that people seem to ask me a lot, if you don't mind,
No, not at all.
is like 2 things. How do I do all this stuff? But more important, and by how they mean exactly how do I do it well. So it's not enough to have a Twitter account and a Facebook account and just to be just broadcasting that you're eating a grilled cheese or whatever it is. It's really important to be writing compelling content, because especially these days, you guys are competing with my mom out there, right? She's on Twitter too, and she is vying for other people's attention as well. So you have to. The most important thing you can do is, this is going to sound so 3, 2, 1 contact, but you have to be yourself. So what sets you apart from the billions of other singer-songwriters who are fledgling out there is you. So if I like you, if your music might just be sort of mediocre, but I think you're fascinating, I'm coming to that show. I have a client whose music I hate, frankly. He's my best client, and I love him, and I do extra work for him for free. I champion him all the time because I just think he's amazing. He's a great guy. So, that's a good example, and I don't work for anyone for free. So just, and that really is writing. I mean, so if you happen to have a fiction writing background, like I do, bonus. You're going to be really good at this. But really, it just takes like having some balls to put yourself out there and to not be afraid to share stuff that you think might not be related. So like, one of my clients is a massage therapist, and I encourage her to actually merge both of her blogs, because if you can get someone interested in something else, if they can access you in any way that they might have something in common with you, like that's how you want to do it. So whether it's you're shopping at Target and you just spent your magic $65 number, and that's what you're tweeting about, or whatever it is. I mean, that's the reason why you're doing this stuff, is to like try to draw people in to relate to you in a new way other than your music, because you're not selling music, you're selling you.
I would say, though, that, and I found this because the clients that I work for are clients who are on the road. They're touring artists, and they're busy every day. They're, going from town to town. They find a little bit of time to tweet or to put a Facebook update, and when they've kind of been a little negative about doing that, their fans reacted in a way that I found really interesting. They said, "We like to hear about the grilled cheese sandwich, and we like to feel like you're human." So to some respect, you do want to have, I mean, it can be engaging and it can be funny and it can be cool, but they want to know that, Ruthie Foster is a client of mine. They want to know that Ruthie is cool and she's just, going to Target on her break and she's, whatever. I mean, I think it's cool, and people like to know that they're normal and human.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not as much, it's like you want to convey that stuff, but you want to convey it well.
Right.
So like, and that's really hard to explain unless I'm like actually helping somebody write something, but like here's, for example, this morning I was hungover, I was at breakfast upstairs, the waitress said, "Can I get you anything else?" And I said, "A couple of toothpicks to hold my eyeballs open." She actually brought me toothpicks. So I took a picture and put it on Facebook, all right? And so there's a nice comment thread, like people are like, "Oh, that's funny." And it lets them know what I'm doing. I'm in New Orleans, at this thing, keeping them updated on my life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe talk about YouTube a little bit. Would you like to do that, or you think?
I want to switch gears just
Okay.
a little bit.
Go for it.
Just, I don't know if anyone was here from the panel I gave. Oh yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hello. Clashing. Short out the cameras. Joke worked this morning. Does anybody here use TuneCore? We got a couple. But I just wanted to take a sec to introduce it,
Absolutely.
because I think it'll provide a basis for what I want to talk
It's
about.
so cool.
The company I started with two of my friends, this TuneCore, is essentially digital distribution. We take a one-time upfront fee, and we'll put your music on iTunes, we'll put it on eMusic, Napster, Rhapsody, I could go on and on. The difference is that we're not taking a back-end percentage of any kind, and we're not taking any of your rights or your masters. So it's essentially a chance to do one of the functions that was basically in the hands of labels for since the beginning of time. A chance to be able to get into the big stores and to do it in a way that doesn't sign your life away. You're not beholden to us, there's no exclusivity, there's no minimum term. I'm not trying to pitch right now, but what I wanted to say was it's part of this move that the internet is doing. This disambiguation, this decentralization, where each various aspect of your career, of how far you want to take it, is available to you. And in a lot of ways, what we're seeing here are companies that are doing something very similar. They're saying, we're not going to distribute you, we're not going to help you produce your music, we're not going to record for you, but once you have those things, you're going to need a voice, a look, fill in the blank, because this table could extend 300 miles and we'd have a different company sitting in every chair. I had one other way I wanted to take this. One of the things that we do is, just recently we released a widget. It's our own widget, and it actually does work on Facebook. We had to jump through some hoops to get that to happen. But what we're trying to do is to provide automated ways for people who might not have cash to give to a company, might not have the wherewithal, not everyone has a sense of visual design, and also to do that all-important, difficult part of hosting. putting the music somewhere so that people can just hit a button and hear a stream of the music. And there's a buy button next to it. And the things that we're going to try and do moving forward are to embed video. There's already a become a fan link. There are opportunities for your customers to join up for you. Now, this is where I sort of wanted to take it, now that I've given a platform. When a customer or a fan of yours loves you, there's two ways they can love you, really. They can love you passively and actively. The passive one is the person who listens to your music, buys your music. I still consider that passive. The active one is the one who retweets you. The active one is the one who, super fan. They sign up to be your fan, and they're going to work with you and for you. This already got touched on a little bit.
Something about YouTube.
And now finally we circle back onto YouTube. Okay. When people come to me and they say, how do I get to be a success? How do I get noticed on iTunes? It's a giant store. You can be, someone has to search for you.
Mm-hmm.
Get them to know who you are, not by giving away your content, but by doing it in other areas, like Facebook and YouTube. We've seen a one-to-one correlation between people who put up YouTube videos and those who have increased sales.
I have actually a rule with my clients, which is I don't care if you're putting up a still on YouTube. Every single song you have should be there. So if I'm blogging and I want to talk about one of your songs and I have to say, oh, go to MySpace, it might be one of those 4 songs up there or whatever the fuck, that's a pain in the ass. So like make it as, everyone's a lazy idiot, right? Make it as easy as possible for me to tell other people that I love you.
Do you know that there's a really interesting statistic that YouTube is the second largest search engine on the internet, and most people don't think that. But Google, #1, YouTube, #2. So if somebody's looking for you, that's probably the place they're going to find you. And
you don't need a budget.
No.
I'm not saying you have to go and sink $5,000 or $50,000 into a production company. You all know the OK Go video. What was that? 4 treadmills, 4 guys, and there it is again, work. They put in the time to make it something special. Boy, the list just goes on and on of people who've leveraged. You ever heard the United Breaks Guitars guys? They did that video. Yeah. They came to us. It was great. They said our video's got 20 million hits. Oh, we need to get it on iTunes ASAP. Boom. Now they have momentum that you couldn't buy.
And like you said, the amazing thing about that is you can share that YouTube video on MySpace, on Facebook, through Twitter, through a host of other social network sites. It's just by hitting the share button. So you can get that out to, her mother on Facebook, or
grandma.
Yeah, your grandma on MySpace. So and that's another really interesting thing. It depends on what age group you're looking to cultivate, but I think some people, especially in the roots music industry, are a little leery of it because they think their age group maybe skews a little older. But there's the fastest growing segment of people using Facebook are 55 to 65-year-olds, and I think that's amazing. So.
And there was some research that said teenagers don't use Twitter. Like the people who are using Twitter are all over 35 for the most part.
Yeah, I believe that. I have a client that's actually a record label in Nashville called Compass Records, and I think that's a good example. They have a huge catalog of all different genres, but, more under the radar. They're bluegrass, Celtic,
Colin Hay.
worlds, Colin Hay. And they are one of our most innovative clients. They have a great team. They're thinkers. They like to be ahead of the curve, but they really complement their audiences. Obviously, it's a huge range of people, but yes, it's a little bit older demographic. But they have this really comprehensive online store that we built for them, and it works great for them. And it's
So I think the wrap up is know thy audience. So one of my clients is the National Disability Institute. I do social media marketing for them, and on my site, I swear, it's the music business. I obviously don't teach them to do that. It's like a different, right? Know who you're talking to. If in fact your fans are kids, then you're going to be, talking to them in a different way than you would be, me or somebody else. And another point I wanted to mention out is that there's like this integrity of regularity. So whatever it is that you're doing, there's tons of data why this is important, but you want to make sure you're doing it at the same time. So people are like getting to make an appointment with your content, just like you make an appointment with TV every Thursday night at 8 o'clock or whatever it is. So, your blog posts every Monday, or like with Twitter, obviously you can just do it different things, but it should be whatever it's going to be, at least once a day or at least twice a day. Give yourself, like, you can make a schedule with a spreadsheet of what your content is going to be and how often you're going to be posting your things. And then you can actually republish that content in various places so that you're not losing your mind trying to think of crazy stuff to say all the time. And you can look ahead and you can have people guest posting for you, and you can come up with themes. So like once a month you do a blog on that's related to, I don't know, like the industry or something, your thoughts about the music industry. And you can create like different ways so that you can manage the content and so that your audience comes to know, what to sort of expect from you, which is really important.
That's a really good point. I think we have a video partner that we work with in Nashville that does that exact same thing, like with video content that they, they're kind of a higher level. It costs money to have them go out on the road with the band, but they'll go out with the band and they'll shoot all these little webisodes and come up with a schedule of how to push that content out through all these different networks. And it kind of, obviously if you're wearing winter coats in your webisode and it's like July, okay, let's be a little bit more strategic, but it really does get some of the legwork done up front, and you have compelling content for some time then.
And you can
do that
pre-sell it
yourself.
Yeah, you can pre-sell it as well. So like Kaiser Cartel is going to be featured on my blog on Monday, and I've already talked about it, last Monday, mentioning that it's going to happen. So that kind of thing.
Can I ask how many of you are collecting emails or your clients are collecting emails at their shows? And are you using those emails to send out newsletters? And yes? Okay.
Shame on you who aren't, because that email address is the most valuable thing you can have. Because on Facebook, I can ignore you. But if I give you my email address, I'm saying, interrupt me.
Yeah,
when you
engage me. I don't want to be working at work. I want to read your emails. Just kidding. I don't know.
It's really easy, you guys, if you don't have a merch table at the show, at least you can do is put a piece of paper on stage, so when you're cleaning up your gear and people want to come and talk to you and bug you when you're trying to get out of there, there's a sign-up sheet. Keep them busy.
But by the same token, if there are people who maybe don't want to put their name on a list, I would highly recommend that you or your artist have a postcard on that merch table, some kind of takeaway that has your Facebook address, your MySpace address, your website address, maybe even a place to go download a free song, because there are lots of people who are afraid of putting their email address down, but when they leave that show, they will go home and look you up on one of those networks. So.
Do you guys all have business cards on that note? Yeah, you should if you don't.
Definitely. And with those email addresses, I would encourage everyone, especially if you're touring, you want to make sure that if you can, get zip codes. I think if you're touring regionally or even like within a smaller area within a state, I don't know, but it's important because then you can hit those certain people. Because if I see one of my favorite bands is playing in Austin and I live in Nashville, maybe I'll feel really up for a trip, but probably not, And then I feel like it kind of devalues those emails if you're not giving them something really relevant. So you have to be kind of wary of that. You don't want to overdo it because then, I know that, and just think of how you feel when you get emails. I'm like, dude, I'm not in Austin. Please stop bugging me with your Facebook posts about your shows in Austin all the time.
So Trish, don't hate me, but I just want to disagree with that really quickly, and I'm going to justify it. But you're right. I don't really give a shit if someone's playing in San Diego or whatever. But what I've taught my artists to do is the newsletter should always have, your email should always have a compelling human story right up front about what we were talking about earlier, about you, and that way your open rate, first of all, will increase substantially, and I have lots of proof of artists who've done this. But then the news comes afterwards. So every time you send me an email, I always want to read it because I'm interested in you, and I'm not going to really care if you're not actually playing in my area because I'm going to read that first part. So for example, one of my clients, his brother is autistic, and part of the job he does for his parents is he gets his brother up every day, and he was telling me about how his brother inspired the record, and I was like, okay, you need to talk about this. That's really relatable. People are going to be impressed with that. And that's one of the first things he started doing. And in 2 months, he increased the newsletter number from 3,000 to 5,000, and he increased his open rate 30% of people actually reading the email. And it's because he just was talking about him. So I think, because one thing I know people are always asking, like, should I divide my list up into multiple things? And if you want to do that and take the time to do it, go for it. But it's a headache.
Well, I definitely think, I'll just interject real quickly. I think that you should have both. I think that, if with the zip codes, our company uses a special email marketing system that makes it really easy. And you don't have to divide them all. I mean, yeah, you could sit there with Excel and do it, but it's a very affordable thing. I mean, I can talk about it afterwards if you guys are interested, but you can really easily organize based on different things, especially zip code. But I think she's totally right. Like, if you're really focusing on you're going to be playing the Northeast area, you're going to be playing in Boston, and you really want to focus on bringing people out to that show, then you want to focus on those zip codes. But in general, I don't think that should be your only emails for sure. You definitely want that human interest story aspect for sure.
Yeah, right. Like if you have a little more power, if you have some people helping you, like ideal situation, divide it up. But if it's just you and you're just starting, it's okay to like not.
Yeah, and if you don't have hopefully these are people that like you too, so.
Right, they want to.
They're excited about getting emails from you.
Can I ask about distribution? How people are using digital distribution?
Well, I guess I'm going to ask an even
Okay.
Crazier
a
question?
slightly crazier question. One of the things, I'm framing this carefully. Thank you. What does success mean to you? Sorry that sounds so much like one of those, be a millionaire overnight guys kind of questions, but the assumption that has been made in this industry that you need to get to the top, and the top is, I don't know, playing Giant Stadium or the Superdome or, just being, number one record in the world, whatever that means, on every chart possible. Is that the success that everybody wants? I think it's not, and I think that the areas you're going to reach out and the areas that you're going to put your stress forward, whether it's money for reaching out with a beautiful site or beautiful anything else, or whether it's your effort, should be dedicated towards that success at whatever level you want it to be.
So that's a really good point. So like the quick summation of that would be is everything you do should have a goal. So on that spreadsheet where you have the dates of what you're doing and your newsletter, blog, and the subject, you want to have like some goals that you can achieve. So if the goal is 1,000 fans on Facebook, give yourself a timeline and let your fans work with you to achieve that. So like right now I'm trying to get 2,000 fans by Labor Day. So that's what I'm reminding them to do and to help me do that. And you want just like the sale ends next Friday. That's what you got to do too. But in a cooler way, obviously.
I guess what I'm saying is a lot of people, one of the goals they want is they want to be signed, whatever that means, whether it's signed to a very small local label, signed to a larger label, a big indie like an Epitaph or Matador or something, or for that matter, a major.
Don't have that goal.
Don't have that goal. But if you want it, then the things you should be working for are towards that goal, not towards sort of a fluffy idea of success. If you define success for yourself, you'll give yourself all those goals. One of the reasons why I always encourage people to go with us is that the sales reports you get from us include not just everywhere your songs and albums are sold, every country, but also a zip code, which will allow you to say, hey, look, I can see by this spreadsheet, I didn't expect to have so many fans in Indianapolis, but I do, because all of these zip codes are from Indianapolis. That'll help you tour, and that means your tours will be more successful. And if your goal is to get signed, you're building a story. You're building a story for the label. Instead of having to go to them and say, do you like my music? Do you think it has promise? Do you think we fit an image or a demographic? That's all an attempt to get the label to feel comfortable taking a risk on you. There's no risk if you're already a proven entity. And if you're a proven entity, they're going to want to see hard numbers. Now you have it. So that's one path. I'm not saying you have to take it, but if you choose to, that's where you should be working for.
Peter, there's one, before we go, we're going to open up for some questions, but there was one thing, you had some great tips as to how to get people to, to find you on iTunes or to
Thanks for reminding
boost your
me.
status on iTunes.
I always like to, before I leave any convention, I like to just make sure I give out some of these tips. iTunes is a giant bucket. Everyone is in there, and unless you have scored one of those editorially decision front pages where they'll put a picture of your band up, or if they'll give you a feature or make you a download of the week, unless they do that, no one's going to find your stuff unless they're searching for it. Well, there are actually some tips. They don't cost a penny of ways to surface yourself on iTunes, and at least get known. You're going to know almost the moment before anyone else does when your music gets live on iTunes. You're working with a good distributor, whether it's us or somebody else. They should be saying, it's going to be live on fill in the date or live as soon after a date. Be the first person to review it. The first review is sticky. It will stay there. Use that space. Put in the band members. Put in, hey, there's your time for a human story. I hope you like us. Say, I think this is a great album, but of course I do, because I'm the lead singer, and my name's, have a little fun. Of course, give it 5-star ratings. Why not? You think it's great. You made it. It's not dishonest. That's one thing to do. Another thing to do, and I recommend this extremely strongly, make an iMix. They're free. They're free to your fans. If you have a sound like Zeppelin, and you say, okay, I'm going to make an iMix, which has 5 actual Led Zeppelin's tunes in it, and mine. Now, anyone who wants to find Led Zeppelin's music is going to find this iMix. It's free. They're going to listen to it, and they're going to hear one unfamiliar song in there. It's going to be your song. And if you know about iMixes, you can always trace it right back to the artist page, the album page. You've instantly linked yourself to a known sound. You're exploiting another band's fame and another band's presence. There was one more tip I said at lunch.
Lexit's had a whole blog about
Bob.
this. Yeah, who I'm not a fan of, but.
All right, we have given you tons of information because the internet is enormous and social media and social networking is enormous, but I'm sure there are questions that you have, so feel free to fire away. Yes.
Seems like a lot of effort for a really small return, and that's my question. I mean, Trish, you were talking about Compass Records. I mean, they sell multiples of 5s of records. I mean, I look at their sound scans, and they're just, for all the effort that's going into this, I'm just trying to quantify it somehow. I mean, they're not drawing on the road. The records, aren't really selling, and
That's a problem.
well, it is. It's a universal problem, not just theirs alone.
Right.
But I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, we seem to have everybody concentrating on getting zip codes and,
Yeah.
and every blogging and Twittering, and meanwhile, nobody's buying.
I think what my answer to that question would be with regards to Compass Records is what Peter was saying about what is your idea of success? I work with them really closely, and that they're very happy. And, obviously they're trying to do better and better and better, but they don't want to be universal. They have a very niche market.
There's a difference between being universal and I mean, there's a difference between being universal and really not selling. And by the way, I love those guys too. I'm just trying to figure out sometimes. It's very frustrating because, they have a situation with like their marketing department. They want to keep cutting back more and more on the physical CDs that are being sent out. They're trying to concentrate and figure out how you can get somebody to listen to the Barefoot on
Yeah.
on a digital thing, and it's not happening. Unfortunately, with a lot of these young bluegrass bands and et cetera, it's not adapting well to Nickel Creek. Never adapted well to the internet and et cetera. I mean,
Right. You need to know your fans.
Right.
I think it's just all about knowing your fans. And I don't know, what is your situation that you're relating it to? Because maybe it's not very similar.
Brett, I think that,
I'm trying to convince them to get, I do the radio, by the way, so in a similar situation, but, Stephanie, for instance, in that particular case, she's being cut back more and more daily. I have 100 pieces I can send on a CD now. I've got 5 pieces of a CD, and I'm going, well, why are you sending them out? I I mean, there's a point at which you just kind of scratch your head. But I then do know they spend an incredible amount of time sitting down, Allison and Gary and everybody, they spend a lot of time sitting around thinking about this stuff. But I'm just trying to figure out where's the payday. I mean, there's got to be some point at which something's got to sell.
That's their thing. I don't know. I mean,
I think that, I mean, so I can't speak for Compass, but like for my clients,
It's not an isolated case. Just
no, right, yeah.
Okay. Totally.
The payoff is long term for sure,
Right.
but you have, as an artist, you have two places to sell people music: at the show and online. Period. And the reason, at the show has obviously lots of other aesthetic connection. You're actually there, and they're hearing you talk in between songs. They get to see you, see what clothes you're wearing, like all those kinds of things. So it's your job online to create the same sort of thing. It's a popularity contest, is the total bottom line. But I mean, if you're just out there being friends with people and not, it's just like public radio people, right? So I don't know if you guys listen to public radio or if you're members, but when they ask you for money, they're direct and they're asking you for money, and they're always making it relatable to you. So they're saying, come on, you spend $3 a day on a cup of coffee. You can't afford to give us, whatever, $3 or whatever it is, So I think like that's what artists who do well online really do, is you want to reward your fans, you want to thank them, reward, state of need, call to action, and super reward. That's the cyclical thing that you should be doing via Twitter, via your newsletters, whatever it is. And that's how it affects the sales, is by you actually doing more than just saying like, hey, I'm eating a grilled cheese, Yeah.
My question is, are we overloading?
It's a shitload of effort, and it's totally ridiculous, and I'm going to lose my mind personally.
We've taken an aesthetic, which is relatability to music, and we're piling it higher and deeper.
We're near the end of this, yeah.
Which point do we just say, okay, enough?
I think
We
that
don't know too much about.
I think you're right. I think
There
that
used to be an illusion. Quite frankly, when you knew less about the Rolling Stones, personal habits, and etc., it's actually kind of cool. This illusion. Now all of a sudden it's like, this guy got cranky, threw up last night on, High Street in Columbus. I mean, once again, your kids can sit there and tell you everything. You had a pimple, and it's like.
I think that you're right. I mean, I think we're probably going to burn this out pretty soon. But right now, this is
the world we're
I think
living
this is
in.
what's happening. I mean, we all know that free is already dead. So what's the new free? And in my opinion, it's the fucking opposite, like totally expensive. And we can talk about that later. But all we know is that this is how people are responding right now. And if you want to play, you have to play. They are. My company's proof. Seth Gleer's proof. I mean, he got featured on the Boston Globe front page of the Arts and Leisure section, and got Ralph Jacoby, the Martin Sexton's manager, and Empress Records all through that newsletter I wrote for him.
This is what we're talking about. There's a point at which it's got to relate to this.
It is. He's
It's
selling
creating a
records.
community that creates those super fans that are the ones that are putting money towards. And yeah, people in general are not spending as much on, they don't have as much discretionary income. But that's why you have to create that relationship and make it worth their time and money, I guess. I mean, work in a different industry. I don't know.
No,
It's hard.
Are you on Twitter, Brad?
I wish,
You know what? It's not an excuse. It's going to be. I'm going to Twitter.
The bonus cut idea and all
I'm
that.
just giving you shit, man.
I'm like, it's not going to happen.
but you see, in many ways, sorry, Brad? Brad, you're a perfect example, because you know exactly what it is you're looking for. You're looking for a certain return. You're looking for a certain, I know that if I buy X, I'm going to get Y. A more traditional web-based thing, such as I'm going to get 200,000 impressions on this site that's viewed by these people, might be a better investment for your money. Again,
We all go by, though. I mean, we've got examples all through this thing, of a million hits, and it resulted, we had Denby in here from Blue Corn. Ruthie Foster,
Yeah, I know
Denby thought he was going to sell 80,000, sold 8,000. I mean, it was based on this, he had a million hits on that first thing. He gave away a million shots. And it didn't, it didn't come back. I mean, this is where I'm just wondering, this whole idea of giving and giving.
no, that's the thing is, it's not a question.
The newspapers did it. The newspapers put their shit online. They couldn't quantify it with advertising. And where are the newspapers?
I don't think you should give anything away for free. I'm not recommending that. Don't.
You're
Well-
giving information away. You're giving it away.
No, I'm not. I'm letting you into my secret club, and that's when I close the deal. That's how I get clients, is I lure you in. And
Well,
so that's my job, is to lure you
guys,
into my thing and then close the fucking deal.
what I want to stress is that if you have a clear vision of what you want, that's exactly what you're going to do. You have the freedom right now to find distributing partners who will help you, marketing partners who will help you, and if they fail, you fire them. Try that if you were signed to a big label where they owned your rights and whatever marketing push they wanted to put behind you of any kind, you were stuck with until that contract expired and those rights reverted. Again, you have to be your own best shopper. And is the trend of overloading with information, although I might object to the word overload yet, it would only be overload if it actually was failing to work, but in some cases it is, that's clear. But is the loading of information not right for your clients, not giving you returns that you need? No problem. I'm sure that another panel up here of 4 completely different people would be able to show different strategies. But results? No. There isn't a marketing person in the world who is going to be in that world for long if they're going to guarantee results. It can't. All they can do is package and put your material out there as best as it can. Now, here's an example. Everyone, you said you have a bluegrass band? I'm sorry.
No, I do have blue.
Brad Hunt,
Yes, I do.
radio promoter extraordinaire,
Oh, thank you.
Steve Forber. And,
Nice to meet you.
He's the man.
Hey, we're all the man here, right? Everybody?
He's the other man.
The other man. One thing we've seen a lot of success with is people who are selling music to their own fans again. If you've had fans who've been following you for 10, 15, 20 years, maybe they have an old CD. Maybe they want a chance to rebuy your material, so you make it worth their while. We have people who take albums that have already been released, they put them up on iTunes and other big stores with a new UPC with a couple of bonus tracks. The bonus tracks, hey, it's free. They're still paying the same amount of money for the same album, but of course they're paying money. Fans who already love you are going to get extra material, and it gives you an opportunity to remarket that material. Did you love this disc of my third release, name me an album, and now you can buy it again? That's going to give you numbers because you're guaranteeing yourself certain sales, and that's going to bring you to the attention of the stores. We're like, wow, look, here's this album. It's been in print for the last 10 years, but now suddenly it's got an uptick. Maybe we want to make something a feature. Maybe we want to put something on our front cover. Or you can come to me or whoever's doing your distribution and say, I need you to interface with the stores because I'm putting my muscle, my energy behind this album, and I'm giving it something new.
So let's, if you don't mind, let me bring it just back down to 30,000 feet for everyone else in the room, which is, so if you, here you are as a business, and one of the things you have to put in your budget is marketing and publicity. You know, you have to do that. Anybody will tell you that. These things are free in cost, although not in time. And, you know, if your total time spent on marketing is 10 to 15% of your time per week, I think that's pretty good. I mean, you have to do something. So, I mean, advertising is interruption marketing. We all know that doesn't work. I mean, that's part of the reason that social media is so powerful is because, you know, it's actual connection with people. And now more than ever, I mean, people they just want a piece of your world. That's why reality TV does so well. I mean, people are fucking voyeurs, you know, and they're a little freaky, frankly. But I think I just think for us, if we're the little guy, I think the effort is fully worth it. And I mean, you know, I do it every day for my companies and
Pay someone else to do it, maybe.
Right.
yeah.
Now, just to use Ruthie as an example, too, and because I do handle her social media, she, in the last 2 months, has seen a big improvement at the box office. I mean, they're seeing many more people. What's that? Right. And I would, it's not my job to tell them how to market that, but as I said earlier, she's seeing more people in the seats in the theater. I think they need to capture those people who are walking away without a disc in their hand to come and get one digitally. I think there's a lot of people who prefer to do that, and I think the way to do that is through having something they can take away to find her digitally.
Are stage sales being seen on scan?
On scan, most artists, I mean, in her particular case, she's scanning every piece that she can possibly sell, so it's not.
So if they're selling off the stage, it's going to still show up.
Be
That's about it. So, you know, it's one of those things, somebody brought up something earlier on one of the panels about, you know, did you see The Wizard of Oz? I don't know, it might have been the distribution
a larger question, I think, but before we leave the topic that was just here a second ago, I want to jump in. You're talking about SoundScan numbers. Beware, SoundScan does not catch everything.
Absolutely.
And
No ifs, no buts about it. Actually, though, I'll tell you, projection right now is generally higher than low.
well, that's
They're
interesting.
projecting right now across the board, according to RIAA, which is not the world's quickest source, but they're saying it's about 10% above.
Well, that's interesting because I know for a fact that they're drastically underreporting, especially streaming, but also download sales from a lot of these stores because we've paid the artist. We know that sale happened. And we even have, there's a TuneCore Billboard chart, an actual page on the TuneCore charts that we are reporting data directly to them, and it's a direct contradiction sometimes with what SoundScan's doing. So be careful. They are not the holy repository of
Okay.
all knowledge.
I think we should move. I know you have a question right here in the middle. Mhm.
Oh, Drake? Yeah. Yeah, he's actually one of a couple we had. You know Soulja Boy? Yeah, they also started with us. It's obviously Drake's not your average case. He had some pretty powerful people backing him and some pretty amazing people helping him get big. But he was able to bring to the table, to the negotiating table, incredible sales. He was able to say to Sony, to Warner, to EMI, to all the big guys, look, I'm making bank here, and I'm keeping 100% of everything I ever made by going through TuneCore. Which one of you is going to give me the offer? I'm not waiting. I'm not desperate. I'm not sitting around hoping that one of you will come through with something a little better than the other. I can sit back. And as a result, I think he signed with Warner when all was done, or was it Uni? Universal? That's right. I don't know the details of his contract, but I know it was probably pretty sweet. Yeah, it's pretty juicy. It's an unusual thing. Soulja Boy was different. They didn't have as much power coming up, but they just sold and sold and sold. And Eric Hutchinson, another one, came through us. And geez, I've got a list here.
I recommend TuneCore to all my artists.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, they have great experience.
You have a
The lesson
question
I
over
wanted
here,
to.
I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
right
ahead.
here.
Taken from the last time of discussion, that's all I'd like to ask.
Okay. Well, unless somebody has something else, do you have a question?
Go for it.
No, I was just curious, where you thought the disconnect between, the sales and sound scans, how is the information not getting to them? How is it not connecting?
Boy, if I had an answer to that, I'd set up my own consultancy firm and be a very rich man. I honestly don't know. The stores are doing the direct reporting, and we know that they're giving the data to us. Why they aren't giving identical data to SoundScan is beyond me. Every single piece of music that passes through our hands has its own ISRC code for the songs and UPC code for the album, or even a single if it's registered as a single. I don't know. I wish I did.
The question I have too, kind of based on what you're talking about, is that I don't know how this all really works, so I just
I'm so sorry, but we just need to make sure this is about social media as opposed to.
I think we're good. I think we can, unless anyone has.
Okay, cool. Well, for
That's a
those.
question.
I'm available for questions afterwards if
That's
you
a
need.
good point.
Not that I don't love you.
No.
Sorry.
Anybody else? Yes.
How do you guys feel about international social networking like Vivo or any of those? Is it one trust group?
Are you interested in expanding to international areas? I would say go for it. I think if you're going to be touring overseas, then absolutely. Just as you would want to sell your CD on, iTunes Japan, or yes, I would take a look at it if that's your focus. I mean, obviously, we're talking about a million different places you can put your information on social media. So be choosy and focus on the ones that are going to work for you. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, isn't Facebook international too?
It is, but it's not as
Yeah, as Vivo is. I know.
right.
I
Mhm.
mean, certainly you're going to get paid more if you go tour over there than you would here.
Right.
I just thought of one more tip I want to make sure I don't leave without. iTunes draws its data from All Music Guide, AMG. Other stores draw from that and draw from CDDB. Get your information in there if you can so that it doesn't show up erroneously and all messed up on iTunes. We get a lot of calls from people saying, they've got me confused with some other band, or they have my old address, or what have you. Just one more tip I wanted to throw out there.
You other question?
Yes, I want to know how effective do y'all feel that native sites are for social networking and benchmarking?
I think that's a tough one. I mean, I was a part of Tribes, the Seth Godin thing, and I was one of the first members, and so that was really successful. I mean, I told everybody to buy that. Do you guys know about this? Seth Godin's a marketing guru. He's well respected in the music industry because he's written, some stuff on the Thousand True Fans whole thing and all that stuff. So Seth had a book coming out last year in October or August, and he said, hey, anybody who buys my book right now, sight unseen from Amazon, I'm going to invite you, and it's exclusive to only you people, to this social networking site. And so I know that a whole bunch of other marketing jerks read Seth's site, and I want their money, essentially. I want them to invest in my company. I want to talk to them. So I gave him the $15, and a month later, he sent me a copy of the book, and he said, whoops, it's a surprise, it's coming early. I'm actually going to give you a copy now and another copy for free later. And I was like, wow, that's awesome, 2 books. So, of course, I gave one to a friend, right? Really smart. He also put my picture and everybody else's picture on the jacket of the book. So, of course, we told all our friends about that. Then he gave away free tickets to go and meet him, talk about all this kind of stuff. So, and he used Ning to do this. So it was really, but that's Seth Godin, and he was there driving the ship. Like every week, we'd all get some letters directly from Seth saying, hey, this is going on at the site, whatever. And it was a really good social net opportunity. I haven't been there in 8 months because I got what I want. I got a couple of business partners out of it, and then I don't have time for that shit. I've got other stuff to do, frankly. But again, the problem is if you're asking me to go to a new place where I'm not already, that's really tough because.
You're already
I'm on Facebook,
places.
but
Right.
I do post my Twitter feed on my Ning sites.
Right.
So that's how I stay current there because I don't have to do anything, extra. But I think it's going to be hard for you to get people to go somewhere else. But it's free and worth trying. So
Yeah, it's worth a try. I think you're right.
I wanted to mention one more niche thing. One of the things we did is we started a forum, and it was just going to be a place where people could write, come to it's called Toon Corner. I know, that's my idea. It is cute. But it's got, general forums like here, post here if you're looking for a bandmate, post here if you have any questions, post here if you want to know when the next accounting period is. Just a feedback mechanism that wasn't email. It's not overload support. But that's not what it grew into. It grew into something else. One person wrote there and said, hey, everybody, I just put out this album on iTunes. Review it, knowing that an album that has a lot of reviews on iTunes will bubble up in the search. And then someone else said, well, I'll review yours if you review mine. And all of a sudden, there's now, and I saw this happening, I said, okay, guys, let's start a mutual review board. You can put anything you want to on this site as long as you say, I will respond to anyone else who puts something on this site and review their music. Not saying it has to be a good review. You might say, I hate it. But now this is this leading directly to sales? I have no clue. But it's a secondary community. It's another kind of community that grew up.
We were talking about before with the public radio thing. So this is one of those things you can ask your fans to do. It's a call to action, right? So and it's a campaign that you can use. It's like someone was saying earlier today. It was Charles, God bless him. That so he was saying that. When you have a record out, that's the thing to talk about, which is totally true, obviously. But it's your job to make sure you have news every month. I don't care if you have to make it up. You do. And whether it's getting people to write reviews for you on iTunes or whatever it is, you have to create excitement, create events for your fans to be participating in. Some bands who only send out newsletters when they're playing, I'm like, what happened? I haven't heard you guys for 6 months. Did you fall off the face of the earth? What's the deal? So, and the most important thing, though, of all this stuff is it's your job to convey to your fans that we're all in this together, right? I can't do it without you. You guys are equal partners in this thing. I get fed because you buy my stuff. You have some crazy, fun, ecstatic dance experience because I entertain you. So, and that's why.
There are artists out there who actually finance their CDs this way. I mean, I don't know if you've had any clients, but they've, basically put out a plea to, hey, help me make my CD, and they've had incredible success because they made them a part of the effort. People who would never in their lives get into a music studio are now contributing money because they want to be part of making this record for somebody. So.
The only thing I wanted to clarify, Kate, is that it wasn't fans doing this, it was other bands.
Oh, sorry.
That was.
Fans are fans.
But that's the thing, is that by mutually helping another band, you turn them into a fan. It was a strange thing. But and one last thing, this is just utterly personal. My approach to Twitter at TuneCore is I don't use it as point to multi-point broadcasting. I use it as point to point and allow everyone in the world to overhear. If someone, I have a constant search set up, pound TuneCore. If anyone types in any IM anywhere the word TuneCore, I'm going to see it. And I'll just jump right in and I'll say, hey, you said you were having trouble, or you were looking into distribution. How can I help? So tell me, you having difficulty there? Have you written support? Did they get back to you in 4 hours? That's our promise. Back and forth and back and forth. And this way, you're having a personal conversation, but the whole world is involved. And it really makes things human.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yes.
How do you do that? Because I say, like, they have this one site called Silly something on Twitter. Anytime anyone says silly, it pops up on that site. How did you set it up?
You can use
So
TweetDeck.
Yeah, TweetDeck is actually what I use.
Yep.
TweetDeck.
TweetDeck.
In the back.
Yeah, I had a question about branding and your band name and how you control your image online. I mean, YouTube with video cameras and phones, as a band, there's a lot of content out there that I personally wouldn't want to put really poorly.
Right.
People do searches on you and they're just, blogs, YouTube, anything about your band. Do you have any suggestions on how to control your image?
Don't.
No.
You don't want to. There's no bad press. You want that stuff out there. I mean, I actually even tell my artists to use digital download cards and record the show that night. Tell your fans that they can buy the card for you for $1, right? So I'm actually advising them to sell bad content because it serves a souvenir purpose, right? Fans don't care. I saw the police at Fenway Park. The sound sucked. It was so bad. I could have cared less, of course, right? It rained, everything. But so your fans are the same way. So don't, there's other stuff to spend your time on, really. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, when it comes to the official stuff, if you have an EPK that you're handing out and, you have video content on there, obviously you want that to be as professional as your budget will allow. But yeah, I think it's just a mix. So, the live stuff is going to sound how it sounds, but it's great because it's the souvenir thing too. But if, have control of what you can have control over and don't worry about the rest.
Besides, nobody cares anyways because people think MP3s are good quality sound and it's really like a photocopy of a Xerox of a Polaroid of what the actual thing is, so.
Yeah. Exactly.
I tell you,
Right.
it's.
Well, you could own it and turn it into your advantage.
I'll tell you, there's one thing we do. We deliver all content in FLAC. It's perfect. The stores have the ability to sell at different rates if they wanted to. I know they have the material because we sent it to them. So the question as to why people are still using, M4A, AAC files, 128 MP3s, it's a question of, I guess, monetization and bandwidth and reaching as many customers as possible and assuming that people are listening through really crappy work headphones maybe, and it wouldn't help to have higher. But I would secretly hope that the stores would have like a, I hate to make it a class thing, like a platinum level, but if you wanted to, you could buy the same song again at a much higher rate for people who are into that. I wish. That has nothing to do with anything we were talking about today, but it's.
I think it's
but
really
a wish.
difficult when you're the artist, and as Jeff said, there's stuff out there that you're not, 100% comfortable with. Maybe you don't feel that you were on top of things that night, and it sounded like the police at Fenway, whatever. Unfortunately, yeah. There's also people taking pictures of you all the time and on stage, and I'm sure there are photographs of me out there on a stage or somewhere like this where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they put that on Facebook. But there's nothing I can do about it. If they've tagged me, awesome, because somebody's going to find my Facebook page.
It'll be a good problem to have.
Right.
That's your problem.
And then they can see all the great pictures of me, and that's all that matters.
Right, and they're led to the lovely, touched-up professional photos.
Right. So we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions, I think. Anybody else? No? Awesome. Well, if you want to talk to any of us afterwards, please feel free, and have a great night in New Orleans.
Thanks.
Yay.
Thank you.